powerful storm will continue.
We've seen the peak of the winds in the far northwest of Scotland, where we hit 90 miles an hour early this morning. We've seen winds over 100 miles an hour. They've been on the hills, but it's the winds at low-level sites which are causing the problems. Still got some of the peak of the winds across parts of southern and eastern Scotland. Potentially the far northeast of Aberdeenshire, we could get close to 90 miles an hour, but certainly through the central belt of Scotland, that highly populated central belt of Scotland, gusts of wind still in excess of 70 miles an hour, and that extends all the way down into northern England as well.
Well, I want to talk about that because this talk of a storm surge, just explain, because this is a number of events that have come together to conspire to create some problems.
Exactly. You need to get everything phased in exact same time to get a storm surge. Now, you need to rapidly deepen out of low pressure. That's what we've got. What happens in low pressure systems is the air is rising. So if you imagine you're taking the pressure off the surface of the sea and it actually bulges up. And then, as that pulls away, you get the very strong winds on the back edge of the low pressure, and then that shoves that bulge of higher sea levels down through the North Sea, and that's what's going to happen. We do have a risk of some strong winds pushing higher sea levels into parts of northwest England and North Wales around the middle part of the day, but it's tonight the greatest concern down the eastern coast as that storm surge works its way down. It gets funneled a little bit, particularly towards the likes of East Anglia and Kent, and that just helps to lift the sea levels that little bit more.
How unusual is this, Matt?
The actual storm surge thing is very unusual, especially at this sort of scale, because you've seen what happened in 1953. Maybe not as bad as that, but it is certainly some of the highest seas we've seen for around 3 decades. And the high tides at the moment also generally don't help with the whole situation.
To batter the UK through the rest of Thursday. We've seen some exceptionally high gusts across Scotland in populated areas, in Edinburgh itself over 80 miles an hour, Glasgow around 77 miles an hour. Even the station in Glasgow was evacuated due to debris falling on the glass. The wind strengths have been certainly very extreme across the northern part of Scotland, in excess of 90 miles an hour. Some of the worst gusts are now transferring a little bit further southwards, and through the course of Thursday, 70 miles an hour across northern parts of England. Additionally, with the strength of the wind, we also have a storm surge developing along the North Sea coast in particular. The reason is because we have very high tides, we have the high waves generated by this storm, and notice how the wind is blowing parallel, almost parallel to the North Sea coastline. That means that a mound of water is heading in the direction of Lincolnshire and also East Anglia. Potential evacuations are likely along some of these coastlines. Already severe flood warnings, coastal flood warnings are in force from the Environment Agency. This is the floodline number 0845 988 1188. This means imminent threat to life along some of these coastlines here as this storm surge makes its way down over the next 24 hours.